Another week, another list of the top 10 hottest comics of the week. Let's get into it right now. All right, comic fam, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm your host, Comic Tom. I'm sitting here with my best friend, Russ Bright from Mill Geek Comics, and we're here to chat like we do every single Friday, trying to get that speculation news out there, trying to get you the most up-to-date comic books that are causing spikes in the comic book community. But before we go forward, let's chat about our sponsor who makes all of this happen, Key Collector Comics. Key Collector is the first comic book app that exclusively focuses on key moments in comic books, origins, and the information that makes books valuable.
It's a free resource with over 15,000 comics, and if you're a serious collector, you should use our code TOM101 to get 1 free week access to unlock the rest of the essential categories to build more value into your collection.
Before we get into this list, though, we're going to kick it off with a giveaway, one of many that we're going to do, so hang tight. This giveaway is courtesy of Key Collector Comics, and if you want to throw your hat into the ring, comment down below, because we're giving away a free 1-year subscription to the best comic book app on the market. Hit the subscribe button. We do make a lot of comic book themed content throughout the week. We had a lot of rumors, a lot of breaking news. We got a lot of comic books to discuss. Let's get into it at number 10.
Number 10 this week, this is a book we've been talking about for almost a year now. Huck is coming back in on this list. And you know what? Huck is generally going in the $10 to $15 range, and we heard movie spec news about this last summer. And it's about a simple man who has superpowers, and he ends up using his superpowers for good. And we know we've talked a lot about this Millarverse stuff before. So we're seeing Huck back on the list this week because Mark Millar tweeted about this and Chosen going to be made into new Netflix series. Chosen is going to be called American Jesus. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that one, Tom?
Yeah, it's about somebody who has like similar powers to Jesus Christ. It's an interesting read. It's a short 3-issue series.
Another book that should be on your radar is Jupiter's Legacy. This felt a little bit like Wicked and Divine because you've got these people with superhero powers, but there's a lot of amazing Brian Hitch and Frank Quietly covers that you should pick up. This is not on anyone's radar right now.
In the last week, we've seen an increase of over 30 sales for both Huck and Chosen, and that's a difference of about 30 week over week. No one was buying these comic books until this week, so it's pretty exciting news. Keep an eye out for it. These are affordable, and they're out there. Coming in at number 9, we have Dark Age. Number 1, the 1 in 10 variant making the list here. This is another book that I recommend strongly about a gray haze overtaking planet Earth, turning all metal into rust and destroying all technology. This post-apocalyptic comic book would make Brian Pulido excited.
Well, you know, this book has been on our radar since Nick reported on it in March of this year. And then in May on Free Comic Book Day, there was a Dark Age giveaway that had a lot of buzz in the community. Well, it's August, and we finally get to read the full story. And this book was hot. I can tell you a ton of the main covers sold at my shop for cover price, but this 1 in 10 variant is solidly going in the $25 to $30 range.
Keep an eye out for that Comics Pro Ashcan edition. That's hitting $100 respectively. And I think this book has more room to grow because this is just a great story. And with this type of option news in this environment where we don't have zombies hitting the screen, we don't have a whole lot of like post-apocalyptic, exciting anything really happening right now, I think this is a good bet.
Well, and we really have to keep in mind that the person that wrote this book is the TV producer that also wrote the source for Scout Comics and the Rift for Red 5 comics, both of which have been optioned for TV and movie properties, so you know you've got a fantastic writer, and I have one of these for giveaway this week.
Giveaway
a 1
number
in 10 variant. Giveaway number 2.
Let's do it.
Like, subscribe, comment down below for an opportunity to win this $30 book, courtesy of Mill Geek Comics.
All right, at the list at number 8, we have Mr. Miracle, issue number 5. This is a fun thing that happened and a good example of just the impact content creators can have, specifically writers and artists, on the comic book collecting market. Tom King posted that he was looking at this issue as a reference, presumably for the upcoming script he's helping write for the New Gods film. Now, this book, 0 sales, essentially. Basically no movement up until recently, and now we're seeing over 30 hit the market and sell out quick.
Now, this is crazy, and we know that Tom King got put on the map massively with his new Mr. Miracle 12-issue miniseries. People were talking about how Tom King redefined the genre, and it's very interesting to see him flash back to Jack Kirby's Mr. Miracle, the first appearance of Wunderbar, one of Darkseid's elite, because we know there's more Darkseid goodness going to be happening in this Mr. Miracle movie.
Mr. Miracle's got to get tied up somehow. All right, well, we're seeing some growth on this as well. 9.6 sold for $200 this week. Mid-grades approaching $15. Thanks, Tom King.
Coming at number 7 this week, a book that should be a surprise to literally every single one of you.
This is crazy, man.
Oh my God.
How many times did we touch this book this year, man?
I have sent 10 copies of this out in the mail call as the low. Like a new book. I love this book. Guardians of the Galaxy 23. This is volume 3, and it's this amazing Rocket Raccoon painted cover.
It's awesome
I
cover,
love
man.
this cover. This has been a beautiful, beautiful cover. Imagine my surprise when I find out this book is selling for $25.
That's right.
Because of tie-ins to Absolute Carnage.
This is the origin of the symbiotes, but more importantly, this is the origin of Clintar, the planet that is literally translated to the word cage that has entrapped Null, the symbiote god. And the reason why we're seeing this spike is because of Absolute Carnage. Dude, this book is so good.
It is, Tom. It's super cool to be able to see Eddie and Cletus and Peter Parker all fighting at the same time. Great story, great plot. The Stegman art is fantastic. The variant covers are amazing. And it's just plot-wise, you got Carnage going around eating people's spines to be able to... Oh, my God.
He's basically like the Walking Dead. Like, he's been brought back from the dead. He looks super gross and grotesque. Like, he's got like no innards. Like, it's just a spine. And he's going through and he's trying to collect the codex of all of the symbiotes so that he can try to bring back the god of the symbiotes.
And we are definitely going to be seeing more about Planet Clintar. This book is going solidly for $15 to $25 right now. And we happen to have a giveaway copy of Absolute Carnage #1. This is the Holtz Connecting cover. And we had the most comments ever for our giveaways last week. Let's see if we can get even more comments for our giveaways this week.
This is basically 3 comics in one. You gotta read this comic, fam. Super excited about this. Sir Kate's knocked it out of the park.
Yep.
All right, let's roll on over to number 6. Long Lost, the comic book, just became a lot less of a long shot.
So Amazon just announced a deal with the writer for The Witcher and the Jessica Jones TV series, who also happened to write Long Lost. So if Amazon holds the rights to this, you know something good's going to happen.
Jenny Klein, man. You know that this is the one book that was mentioned earlier this last year by Key Collector that had potential. And given that this is now moving to Amazon and we're seeing some movement for this writer, this content creator, this is a good comic book to spec on and likely one that she's going to want to bring to the screen.
Absolutely. Well, this book had cooled down significantly since September of last year when Nick at Key Collector first mentioned it. But now sales are going strong in the $15 range. We know they can be found for less, but it is definitely spiking on announcement from Amazon.
Super excited to report on this next issue. Number 5 on the list, we have Eternals issue number 3, the first appearance of Cersei. Now, this book may be at an all-time low for the last time. Now, this was a book that started to spike after Angelina Jolie and Selma Hayek were put up as actresses that were going to be playing key roles in this movie. A lot of people speculating that Cersei would be that character. But after it was announced that that is not the case, this book took a dive. It did until Gemma Chan was rumored that she was going to be taking on the role.
Now, you may know Gemma Chan because she played Minerva in the MCU, and it's fantastic to see her jumping over and doing the Eternals.
This book was going for over $800 at one point back in May. Now we're seeing this hit that $700 mark in high grade.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, look out for those raw copies, Comic Fam, because I think this is a good one to put your money in.
Speaking of raw copies that we probably all have, there's a 90s book on this list that you probably haven't thought of in quite some time.
Dude,
Punisher War Journal number 6?
Yeah, man.
Wow, I haven't even thought about Punisher War Journal, another one of these books, but I was unaware of the fact that Jim Lee did the cover, this awesome Wolverine cover for Punisher book, and Jim Lee did the interiors. Now, the story's kind of cool because you got Punisher and Wolverine and they mistake each other for poachers.
Yeah, it's their first fight in comic books. This is a minor key.
It's definitely a minor key that's not on anyone's radar. Well, there was an absolute Carnage variant this week that is an homage to this cover, which is why all of a sudden we are seeing this book go for $12 to $15 raw. A 9.8 sold for only $84, and that still feels super low for such a fantastic art.
An increase of 466% week over week in sales for this comic book. People were reminded about this because of this variant. That's exciting to me. Giving some, love to the 90s comics. I appreciate it. All right, at number 3 on the list, we have Adam, Legend of the Blue Marvel. This is a very strong spec book. We had some rumors this week about an actor taking on this role, and dude, I am so pumped about this.
Absolutely. You know what? Last time we saw Gus Fring, Giancarlo Esposito, he was slinging Los Pollo Hermanos.
That's right, man.
Right? And it's fantastic to see that he may very well be playing Adam.
We saw a 400% increase in sales week over week for this comic book, with 9/8 hitting $150. And I think that is super low because this book had right around a 17,000 print count. The later comics in the run, even lower. Issues 3, 4, and 5 approaching that 10,000 mark. Now, I want to remind everybody, we've been talking about Spawn a lot, and a lot of those Spawn issues that have seen some major hikes in recent times are surprising us specifically because of that low print count. It's hard to find high-grade copies, and they're going up, up, and up. These numbers that I just reported about this book are lower than those Spawn books. We got to keep an eye out on this. At the list at number 2, I am so stoked about this comic book being here. We have Bill Sienkiewicz Goodness, Moon Knight number 1, the first solo series making the list. We saw an 85% increase week over week in sales on this title because of Moon Knight rumors, making every comic book fan in the community excited. We got 2 major actors that I'm pumped to see as potentials taking on this role of this psychologically damaged superhero. We have Andrew Garfield as well as Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
It's super, super cool to see both of these guys who we have seen in successful movie properties potentially taking on this Moon Knight. Now, Tom and I are trying to make sure that affordable keys and affordable speculation books, because you know what? You could pick up a Werewolf by Night 32.
First appearance.
A 9.2 first appearance of Moon Knight just went for $2,400. And a 9.8 for $24,000.
Okay, so I think that's one of the main reasons why this book is seeing so many spikes, because it's so expensive, and that book has been such a long-term spec. But Russ, what about the second appearance? I mean, maybe that's a better book to look at, right? I mean, if you can't get the first, let's look at the second. That should be more affordable.
I mean, you could pick up a Werewolf by Night number 33 in a 9.8 for $3,100.
Okay, strike 2. Okay, so what about the first, solo story? Maybe that's a more affordable book.
Even Marvel Spotlight number 28, which is his first solo story, is going solidly over $100. So if you can get this Moon Knight from 1980, number 1, with this awesome Bill S. cover in the $25 to $40 range, it's a great one to pick up.
And number 1 on this list, coming in strong, we got X-Men issue number 96.
This is a book that I haven't talked about or thought about in a long time. But again, Hickman is making these X titles do things. And all of a sudden, House of X and Powers of 10 is making Moira McTaggart a household name.
Oh, dude, I thought that this was the first time that Wolverine goes into berserk mode. I thought that's the reason why this was a minor key.
Nope. It's because Moira McTaggart, her mutant power is actually released this week that she can reincarnate.
What a freaking cool mutant power that is.
It's great, and she can remember all of her past lives, so she has the ability to see all of these things that have happened in the past. And a lot of this ties into very integral plot points in House of X 2 this week.
We all know that it's being solicited that House of X, Powers of 10, that these comic books are going to set up a new X-Men that we haven't seen in like a decade. Something that's going to get people interested in reading X-Men again. And I got to also mention that this book is really, really good. I am hooked on this story. I'm excited to see where it goes. And we have one to give away today.
Yes, we have a House of X number 2. This is the action figure variant, and we are giving this away. Again, like, subscribe, comment down below.
All right, but that's not the book that's on the list. Even though it's already seeing spikes, that book's going for like $12 strong.
Oh, yeah.
All right, but no, X-Men 96, this is the first appearance of her. And I just have to throw this out there. We haven't seen anything from this character in almost 2 decades. All right, so the fact that this is the mutant that's being showcased in this run, it's causing new buzz, and there could be some long-term spec on this book. We're seeing some price hikes, aren't we?
You're right, Tom. In late May, a 9.6 went in the $250 range. And just yesterday, we saw one go in the $350 range.
That's right. People are thinking that this is a character that's going to mean something in the Marvel Universe. And you know what? It's got me looking for that 96.
You know, if Hickman has anything to say about it, she will be.
All right, Comic Fam, this may be the end of our reporting, but this is only half of the list. Isn't that right, Russ?
That is right, Tom. And if people head over to the Key Collector app, you're going to find a weekly list with 20 comics that have been moving and shaking all this week. What a fantastic way to end your week by checking these out.
I also want to mention that the subscription cost for Key Collector is only $2 a month or $20 for the year. If you download Key Collector and you go to your comic shop and you find one comic book that's worth something, it will pay for itself. That one purchase for the whole year. So I encourage the community to go into the description, click, download it, and use code TOM101 to get your free week subscription. And we do have some giveaways to announce. The first one is for X-Men 221 that you got in a collection recently. Congratulations, Mary Beth Stearns.
Yep, and we have a signed Spawn print that was signed by John Boy, and Jamie Paul's the winner of that one.
We're giving away a Blu-ray copy of Hellboy. The movie's pretty decent. Worth watching because of
Lobster Johnson's the best
Johnson,
part, right? And wrapping it up, we have the Vampire Tales graphic novel, and that's going away to Erica Marvell.
We do appreciate the comic book community. You give us the best job in the world. As always,
geek responsibly.
Enough said. Holy smokes, Comic Fam. You guys brought the heat last week. Russ, we had the most views in 6 days that we ever had on one video in our last top 10.
The force is strong with this community.
We also dropped our first podcast on Sunday. It performed really well. And if you want to listen to us, you can check it out on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, or you can check out the video right here. Super excited about this. We're only getting started, Comic Fam.